They say that reality is stranger than fiction. Ali's fight against Chuck Wepner wasn't supposed to be anything spectacular, but a display of indomitable spirit and otherworldly toughness culminated in a moment that inspired the pivotal boxing blockbuster, Rocky. Fresh from his Rumble in the Jumble knockout over George Foreman, Ali was once again the baddest man on the planet. The powers that be decided that the new, and once again heavyweight champion, needed a break from world-class opposition. Ali, just like his fantasy counterpart Apollo Creed, wanted a tune-up. So, in an unexpected turn, promoters settled on part-time pugilist Chuck Wepner as Ali's next opponent. Just like the character Rocky, Wepner was, by all accounts, an unlikely heavyweight contender. The 35-year-old New Jersey native was a 6'5" brawler, known for his borderline illegal roughhousing tactics and rock-solid durability. That said, his sturdy chin needed a lot of tissue paper. His losses to George Foreman and Sonny Liston both ended because he got cut.
I think Harry Gibbs is going to stop it, and the manager's protesting. Al Braverman's protesting too.
But after stringing together enough wins, he finally cracked the heavyweight top 10, granting him a long shot, but a legitimate shot, at a world title bout. Regardless, Ali opened as such a big favorite that oddmakers wouldn't take bets on the fight. Ali was noticeably out of shape before the fight. He weighed in at the heaviest of his career thus far.
Now you're gonna criticize me about how big and fat I am. I thought I was the greatest. I just hope George Foreman did.
Meanwhile, Wepner spent months in the Catskill Mountains. For the first time in his career, he had a full professional training camp. For Wepner, it was the opportunity of a lifetime, a chance he was never supposed to get. Wepner told his wife before the fight, "I want to prove I belong there." On April 24th, 1975 at the Ridgefield Coliseum in Ohio, Chuck Wepner would stun the crowd. It would become one of the most shocking moments of Ali's entire career. The first bell rang out, and Wepner stormed out of his corner to meet Ali in the center. But Ali wasn't here for a firefight, or even a real fight. He was here to put on a show. He glided across the canvas, strafing from side to side, even the slightest shuffle pulling cheers from the crowd. Even as Wepner seemed to be closing in, Ali would stop short, break his rhythm with footwork or a feint, then glide away from a befuddled Wepner. In Rocky, this is where our lovable underdog would shock the world with a stunning knockdown of the taunting Apollo Creed. But this wasn't a movie, and the real-life Muhammad Ali was simply a class above his plotting adversary, emulating Willie Pep by not throwing a single punch until near the tail end of the round. The one shot Wepner was getting through was looping rabbit punches, which was not part of Ali's script. After no intervention from referee Tony Perez, Ali went ballistic, beating the back of Wepner's head like a drum until the ref finally stepped in.
Look at Ali going to the back of the head. Referee Tony Perez will have his hands full. Ali... Well, it was a very exciting round, and he did hit him a few times there, back of the head, but...
In the second round, Ali changed his performance, trading in dancing shoes for cement boots. He shelled up against the ropes, as he had against Foreman, shouting at Wepner, who did his best to crack through Ali's armor. Though he treated Ali like a punching bag, most of Chuck's punches looked like an exercise in futility. Ali only came to life after more punches behind the head. In his go-to strategy, he closed the round with crisp combinations that cracked at Wepner like a whip. It was just like Ali to stay defensive until the tail end of the round. He would then unleash his offense against a tired competitor, scoring more points in the last half minute than his opponent had during the entire round. And this pattern of dancing, shelling up, and stealing the end of the round would repeat well past the halfway point of the fight. Ali played the classics. He floated from pillar to post, swelling Wepner's face with pinpoint jabs, occasionally stabbing his midsection to sap his energy. When Chuck tried to return the favor, Ali remained elusive as ever, leaning out of harm's way and turning his chin at the last second, watching Wepner's gloves sail by.
Chuck Wepner. Don't underestimate the speed and power and tremendous boxing ability of Muhammad Ali. Ali now take a quick shot. Evidently there was some sort of a kick there, and Ali and Wepner made friends over it.
He landed thunderous counters, testing Wepner's rock-hard chin in the process, pole countering with hard right hands.
Yeah, he's pushing his punch right through into Webner's nose, like that time he almost swallowed his mouthpiece.
These punches stopped Wepner in his tracks, but he was still there, a much tougher puzzle than anyone, including Ali, had anticipated. Ali had done his best to end it early. But Wepner would not stop lumbering forward. Barely slowing through 8 rounds of punishment, even if he didn't enjoy the same skill level as his fictional counterpart. Even more frustrating for Ali, Chuck's ability to just eat Ali's shots meant that he could throw back without missing a beat. Several times Ali landed a clean right, and Wepner would just keep punching like it didn't happen, landing a hard right on Ali just a moment later. As occasional as these shots were, and as iron as Ali's chin was, his 6'5" behemoth's punches were still bothering him. They would bother anybody. By the 9th round, the fight, thanks to Wepner's otherworldly toughness, had been much more entertaining than the newspapers and boxing experts had expected. That said, it was still pretty much smooth sailing for the greatest. But then, Wepner reminded the world why boxing is such a beautiful game. Anything can happen. He stepped in with a pair of hanging jabs, before clubbing a hard right to Ali's midsection, sending him careening to the mat. The broadcasters, the crowd, and Ali himself couldn't disguise their total disbelief. Not only was Wepner still there, he had knocked down perhaps the greatest fighter to ever live. In Ali's mind, he couldn't believe the ref was counting a blatant trip as an official knockdown. And in fact, Wepner had stepped on his foot when he hit the body shot. But regardless of what sent Ali down, Wepner had put him there. And in that moment, Chuck had reached beyond his upper limit, reminding the world that if you show up, give it your all, and never give up, you can achieve something that no one else had ever dreamed you could. This was Wepner's Rocky moment. To the soundtrack of a roaring crowd and a counting ref, Ali climbed to his feet. He immediately met Wepner in the center, fighting with a renewed purpose: revenge. Chuck went back to work, punching in unison with Ali's counters. But now Ali was serious. Sitting down on his punches, he slammed Wepner with a stout left hook. Wepner was clearly rattled and had to catch himself on the ropes as he stumbled forward. Ali pursued, but Wepner was resilient to the punishment. Showing insane mental toughness, he battled his way off the ropes. Getting clipped by leather and swatting at air, he still, astonishingly, ended the round by pushing Ali back to mid-ring. And over the next 4 rounds, Wepner continued to hold on. Ali landed combination after combination, casting heaps of damage.
Ali is serious as cancer and more direct as a heart attack right at this point.
You're exactly right there.
Still, Wepner wouldn't give up, sauntering into range to wing haymakers. The crowd watched on the edge of their seats, wondering if Wepner could pull off the same feat again. But Ali at this point fought with an almost manic desire to put Wepner down. But no one, not George Foreman, nor Sonny Liston, had been able to drop Wepner before. That didn't stop Ali from trying. Throwing so hard in the 12th, he spun himself in a circle. Wepner, ever bold, threw up his hands and taunted him. Ali tried walking Wepner into shots, caught him with lightning-fast lead hands, and even threw body hooks, an extreme rarity for the champion. But Wepner kept throwing.
You ever watch Ezra Charles in his heyday?
Yes, I did.
Ali got that same kind of razor.
Ali would land 10 punches, and Wepner would still be right there to manage a big shot of his own. Even though they were rare, they still did damage. Even in the 14th round, Wepner, now trying to make out his opponent through eyes that were nearly shut, was still careening towards Ali.
It kind of bothers me, the fact that Webner just won't go down.
After 42 minutes of lopsided abuse, Chuck landed maybe his best counter, slipping far to the left, moving towards Ali's cross to land a tremendous cross of his own. And then, somehow, the 15th and final round arrived. This was Ali's last chance to get even. For Wepner, crossing the finish line would mean the culmination of a dream. He had given his all. For him, hearing the final bell would sound just as sweet as, and new. He would have gone 15 rounds with Muhammad Ali. Something no one had ever believed he was capable of doing. The bell rang out for the final time. Ali was incensed. He went completely berserk with unending flurries, throwing with bad intentions. He simply would not stop, but neither would Chuck. He threw lightning-fast flurry after lightning-fast flurry. Somehow, Wepner kept coming. Until Ali stepped back and connected with a hook-cross combination. After 15 rounds of chipping at Wepner's granite chin, it finally exploded into pieces. Chuck wobbled, the world spinning, somehow still standing. Ali drove forward, again spinning himself in a circle. But this time, Wepner was not capable of taunting Ali. He was completely focused on survival, if in that moment he even knew where he was. Ali clubbed him against the ropes. Wepner somehow momentarily escaped, but he stumbled forward, eyes on the floor. He got his bearings and turned towards Ali, just in time to see the glove that sent him down for the first and only time of his professional career. Wepner clung to the ropes and tried to climb them like a ladder, desperate to survive the last 19 seconds of the fight. In the movie, Rocky gets back up for one last push against Apollo, but in reality, the referee had seen enough. Even though Wepner didn't hear the final bell, his toughness and dogged determination shocked and inspired the world. In modern-day boxing, it's easy to forget that winning isn't everything, not in the grand scheme of things. What people remember is how you fought. To paraphrase my favorite philosopher, in great attempts, it is glorious even to fail. Wepner's incredible effort inspired Sylvester Stallone to write Rocky, a movie that, in turn, inspired millions of people around the world to keep going towards their dream, even when things are their toughest. And if you love great martial arts fiction like Rocky, you can check out our comic book, Mortal Weapons, linked below. From the Modern Martial Artist, this has been David Christian, wishing you happy training.